Hello, happy Wednesday, my friends. My name is Michelle Descavage. I'm the author of Unnamed Women of the Bible, a certified life purpose coach and speaker. And today, just wanted to take a few minutes because really it's noon, so we're probably getting hungry, right? It's almost time for lunch. Facebook just told me I'm live. Thank you. I knew that. So I'm not going to take up a lot of your time. I promise you that. But I was thinking about the questions we ask ourselves and other people, and here's a little bit of the backstory. So a few years ago, I was helping a woman at our church to develop some programs or some trainings for our small group leaders, and we really wanted to encourage and equip them. So we were in this discussion one day, and she just asked me, "What is it like to be on the other side of me?" And I gave simply the most eloquent response you have ever heard. I looked at her and said, "It's cool." That may not have been what she was looking for, but I said, "It's fun. I'm learning and it's fun and it's exciting and I don't always say a lot because I'm just trying to gather information." And so I flipped it and asked her, "What is it like to be on the other side of me?" And her response was so interesting. She said, "I realize I played the airhead around you." And again, being the eloquent speaker that I am, I simply said, "Why do you do that? You shouldn't. That's kind of silly." And just, it was a funny moment, but also very interesting just to have that conversation of what's it like to be on the other side of me. And so I kind of took that a step further, thinking, how can I transfer this into other relationships in my life? Because we have to give, hey, Aurora, people a safe place to share what they need and what they want, right? I mean, that's kind of the goal. So I remember a few years ago, I asked my husband, how can I serve you better as your wife? Or what needs you have that I'm not meeting, something like that. And I think it was like, make more of your homemade protein bars or something was his answer. But it was an interesting, and a few years ago when I asked that, it was interesting because he kind of pulled back. And it really made me realize that I was not helping create an environment where he could speak freely without repercussion. And that has nothing to do with him. That had everything to do with me and stuff I needed to work on. And so it takes so much humility, Aurora. You're right. And so the other day, as I was out walking and just some stuff going on here at home and just my daughter and just thoughts that I've been having about parenting her and how I'm parenting her, just the idea came, ask her how I could be a better mother. So I had picked her up from school and we're on the way to the store or something, like that has any relevance, but there you go. And I asked her, how can I be a better mother to you? She said, "What made you ask that, Mom?" And I said, "I was just thinking about it while I was out walking, so I wanted to ask you." And she said for a second, and she gave me an answer, and it was a really good one. And I just said, "Thank you so much for sharing with me. I appreciate you being honest, because sometimes being honest is not easy. And I will work on that." That specific thing she had told me. And then I just got to thinking, okay, what if we transfer this to our friendships? You do it in business. You see that as happening in business a lot. How can we serve you? How can we help you? Customer service, right? Well, in a way, any relationship we're in, there's a customer service element to it. And of course, some of our relationships are much more intimate, so it can be a little tricky. And I will say, if you're going to dive in and take that step to ask these questions in those relationships that are very close to you, you need to make sure there's some health in those relationships. Like if your marriage is a disaster right now, I don't recommend doing this. I just don't. Not the right timing. And I remember asking my husband a second time, okay, what needs do you have that I am not meeting, or how can I serve you better as your wife? And his response, I kind of started feeling defensive, and I just kind of said, "I appreciate that. I need to think about it because I'm not going to respond well right now." So sometimes we have to take a step back. Okay, why did that answer unnerve me? What is it? What rose up in me? You know, what's the bottom line? What's the root of that issue? And then what do I need to do to improve that? So there's a lot of growth that can come from these simple questions. So with a spouse, how can I meet your needs better as your wife, as your husband, whatever pertains to you? Or how can I serve you better as your spouse? Simple, but then allow for the silence. Let them think. Thoughtful self-control and reflection. Yeah, amen. And that's one thing a lady that I'm going to, kind of spiritual mentor type relationship, she said, try not to let your personality get in the way of what God wants to do. Because I'm very much a drive forward, full force ahead. And she said, you've got to learn to be quiet and to be still and to listen and receive the direction, receive the instruction, and then act. Because I'm such a quick to act kind of person. And so in these conversations, in these questions, I have to tell myself, don't fill in the silence. Let them think. And that's kind of another way we let them know it's safe. That it's safe for them to come up with whatever answer they have for us, right? So just ask the question and wait. And don't fill in the silence. That probably for me is harder than actually hearing the response, quite honestly, because I just want to, let's get in, have the conversation, and then go. But to just stop and be silent and let them respond. And then thank them. Thank them for being honest, saying thank you for helping me be better. You know, or just thank you for being honest with me. I so much appreciate it because this relationship is so valuable to me. And that alone is such a powerful dynamic in a relationship. And Aurora, my husband, is very thoughtful and reflective too. And sometimes I'm like this was a yes, no question. Come on, answer. But he just works differently. So there's a need for those of us who full steam ahead, and there's a need for the thoughtful and reflective. And I think that's probably why God put us with those kinds of spouses to kind of chill us out a little bit, right? So you can ask your spouse that, asking your children that. And of course, sometimes children, because there's just growth and there's maturity happening. And yes, our relationship is very different. And yes, if you are the parent, you are the authority. So some things, maybe you explain your position on something. Maybe that allows for another conversation. But just saying, how can I parent you better? How, or do I encourage you and support you? You know, just how can I help you achieve what you want? Something like that. And of course, you know your child best, so you have to determine that question. But for me, it was just, how can I be a better mother to you? It was very simple. And my child is only 8, and she had a really good question. I mean, a really good answer. So you give the space, people will answer it. And then with friends, how can I, or simply, am I a good friend to you? And see what the response is. Or how can I be a better friend to you? Those kinds of things. And even the question my friend asked me, what's it like to be on the other side of me? I mean, in any relationship, that's a great question to ask. You know, but I really have found that making space for this to say, I want to know how I can invest in you better, puts so much value. And they see the gravity of that and the significance and the beauty of that. Just saying, wow, you care enough to ask. That alone will speak volumes. The fact that you sat and asked the question. And then when you receive your answer, apply what they've learned. Do what you can. Take that into account and apply it, right? Because without application, we have knowledge, not wisdom, right? But these questions, if we will start asking them, I believe that relationships can change dynamically, drastically, for the better. And isn't that the point, to have deep, connected relationships with people in our lives? And on that note, I actually wrote a blog about this yesterday, and the link is going to be by the title of this video up above. And I forgot to change the name of the blog, so it's really long. I don't even remember what it is to even repeat it here. So forgive me for that. Didn't think ahead on that one. But you can click on that link and kind of read that post. And if you start asking these questions, I would love to hear your stories of what that did for your relationships, how that changed, or the significance that it brought to that, the value it brought to your relationship. I would love to hear your stories as well, because I want nothing more than to see you excel in every area of life. Because we are not meant to live this life alone. We are meant to live and walk through it with other people, and we need to be doing it really well. So that's all I have for you. Hey, Alicia, I'll be talking to you in just a little bit. Be thinking about the questions you can ask. Keep it simple. Allow for the silence. Respect the answer. And thank them for answering you honestly. So there you go. Take that, enjoy it. Here's to deep, meaningful relationships in our lives. Have a great day.